This is the Wild Sage Society podcast, where we explore the ideas and practices that help us live healthy, connected, and purpose-filled lives. Each week, our host, Marcie Walker, connects with healers, spiritual leaders, doctors, and small business owners on topics such as human resilience, conscious leadership, and modern shamanism. Here is your host, Marcie Walker.
Hi there. Today I get the privilege of talking with Teresa Walkerley. She's an intuitive life coach and energy worker. Welcome, Teresa.
Thank you for having me, Marcie.
I'm elated you're here. We connected, last summer, I guess it was, at a networking event. And I recently saw that you're going to be hosting those. So we're going to dive into those where people can connect with you over those networking. But before we go there, I'm really intrigued about your healing journey.
Okay. We've all gone through a journey, right? That's why we're doing what we're doing. And those of you who are hearing this, if you are working with someone who hasn't gone through something that they're helping you with, then it's probably a good time to do some more research and really dive into working with someone who has been through what you're going through.
I couldn't agree more.
So I'm an intuitive life coach, energy worker, and I started my coaching journey in 2016, unofficially in 2016. A girlfriend of mine clobbered me to work with her because I came back from a summit and she was so excited by what I was saying. She's like, "You must help me." So we unofficially worked together. But what was happening and why I was going to that summit, why I went to that summit and why I was diving deep into my own stuff is because my mom had been diagnosed with cancer, and she was diagnosed with gallbladder cancer in 2016. It was March 2nd, 2016. And what happened on Groundhog's Day a month previous was my brother had committed suicide.
Oh, how horrible.
And so it was a pretty tough time, and I was trying to figure things out. And I thought I had gone through so much already, and I had brought myself to a place where I felt healed, I felt balanced, I felt solid. But then that happened, those two things happened, and it really threw me for a loop. I come from a pretty dysfunctional background. A lot of us have. Blanket of abuse. The first time I ever did a drug, I was 5 years old. Wow. I've gone through my own journey of that. And I tell you what, being sober is the real trip. That's the real trip. So what happened was we found out first my brother passed, and then a month later my mom was diagnosed, and I was really forced to face myself and figure out how to not just manage myself, but her and I were extremely alike. We had the peanut butter that you had to stir when it wasn't cool. The carrot, you should have seen our Easter basket. It was embarrassing. Like everybody else had the Easter basket that had all the bunnies and the toys, and we had Peeps, chocolate-covered raisins and oranges, apples. And so I thought, okay, we're going to do this thing. Let's get through it. Let's go the alternative route. We're going to dive into everything and we're going to beat it. And she didn't want to do that. And looking back now, and I do tell the story in my book, but looking back now, I realized that she was ready to pass, and she having a son commit suicide. And she was 14 when she had my older sister.
Wow.
And we went through a lot, and I learned through all of this research and through that journey about energy and how emotions play into our diagnoses, stress. For her, it was a lot of guilt, things that she had done. And for me, watching her go through that, it was so difficult, and I needed to be strong, yet I needed to be vulnerable, and I didn't know how to do that. I stumbled. Looked terrible. I took classes. I was ridiculous, but that's why I'm here now. And I help people. And who cares if you're ridiculous? You can say fuck, and you can be totally legit you can be yourself, you can fall and trip, and then you get up. You get up and you be as graceful as possible and don't have to be perfect. But it's really what's brought me here, and it's saved my life. It's saved my relationships, not just with myself, with my children, my husband, my family, my friends. I really do cherish every moment. So it sounds preachy, but I cherish every moment. There's nothing that you can't do. And if you feel that you can, then reach out. And that was something that I really did learn, because she never asked for help and she couldn't accept it. And I knew I needed to learn how to ask for help and accept it and show that I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect.
Yeah.
Things can be pretty damn good.
Yeah. You talk on your website about the moment that you were missing something in your life and you went and enrolled in UNR, and then you took the drastic switch to being where you are now. I'm curious what life would have looked like if you were still doing the UNR path. What were you studying then?
Psychology.
Okay, so that does have it integrates into what you're doing now. So that's amazing.
I've always been interested in the mind, body language. I wanted to go into neuroscience. I love the brain.
Yeah.
I'm a total nerd. Studying is my favorite thing. I love girl things and I love to do the spa and I love all of that. But if you want to nerd out, like, I will do that any day.
What Enneagram are you?
I don't know. I forgot.
Okay.
I forgot I hadn't done
sending
it.
you a test.
Okay. I'll do it.
What human design are you?
I am a manifesting generator 1-3.
Okay. Manifesting generator 2-4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my daughter is a 2-4.
Okay.
She's a generator.
Okay.
I love human design.
I do too. We have a couple episodes on human design. It's really fascinating how they combine an astrology and but I don't want to digress down there. Will you talk about the law of vibration?
Yes. Everything is energy. And in fact, I will add that I base a lot of when I coach and I do energy work on astrology. Everything is energy. It all has a vibration, a single thing. But what I really work on is emotion, because our thoughts, the way we feel, no one can see this, but Marcie has these beautiful plants and these crystals, but they all have their own frequency as well. And once we can tap into a way of being, what we want, that's when things really start to flow. And that's where you get to where you want to be.
Yes. The law of vibration has become, I think, more and more popular, basically right after The Secret and all of those things. And it really does play a huge part in my life and the work that I do. And as an energy worker, how do you set up your sessions? Because I think we all do them different. Do you do mostly remote, or are you in person?
So I mostly do remote.
Okay.
And with my energy work, I set up sessions every morning, and I have an avatar, and I work with a group of people. And usually the minimum is I don't think I go any lower than 5, and it can get up to about 11.
Okay.
And I do numerology and all into numbers. I'm always adding in my head and looking at things for signs. But my energy work is done remotely, and I prefer to work with people for 30 days.
Okay.
It takes about 20 days really to get a habit change for the general population. But I find that one extra week, like, I like to give gifts. I like to give a little bit more. And so that one extra week, I feel like seals in whatever the vibration is supposed to be. Because we were talking before we got on the recording, and sometimes things don't always happen instantly. There isn't going to be instant gratification or instant switch, but there's something that is happening that maybe you're not consciously aware of. So I put in that extra 30 days. So I start my energy work in the morning. I have my own vibrational music that I listen to, and I get into my mode. And sometimes I'll write to the people, to the energy. Sometimes I talk, sometimes I sing. I haven't played music, but I should play music. I play the ukulele and I sing with a group every week. And so I should do that. But I do whatever the energy calls me to do to help who I'm working with in what they need. And sometimes it's health, sometimes it's love, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's all. I want it all. So I work with people having it all, and career. And then every week I give an update through email, and I'm always available for questions of what's happening, what we've done. And what I do is I bring people throughout the day. So my group, who I have here, the listeners cannot see, but Marcie and Jesse can. And you'll see I have a list of people here, and I'm not going to completely show you just for privacy's sake, and my goal card. For those of you who have been my clients or are interested in coaching, you'll know what that is, having a goal card in your pocket. But I take and bring everybody with me so they get to experience with the energy, what it's like to be on a podcast, what it's like to have a producer here, these lovely dogs, super cool. Marcie has a great house, and to feel the energy. And for people who are nervous talking, this will help them to get over that. Someone who's nervous at coming to a new place, or there's people who are afraid of driving, afraid of leaving their house, especially after all of this COVID business. There's so much fear out there that with my group, I bring them through the fear anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're scared, you do it anyway.
And Teresa was very generous and offered me a 30-day, would you call it a session? Okay. So it was right after, I met her right before I had my TBI and after we had lunch. And so we met for lunch, and she heard the news that I slipped and fell down the stairs and I had double vision, and she offered at that moment, and generously, thank you, and worked on me for 30 days. And then at the end of 30 days, we reviewed my human design, and we talked about everything that she experienced and what she felt. And she was really accurate in what my experience was. It was amazing.
I'm so happy and grateful that I could do that for you.
Thank you.
We also reviewed astrology as well. And at that time, I wasn't flying gliders with my son, but that is a new venture that we're up in the air, 9,000 feet. We haven't been over this winter that's cold, and he has to have a certain grade point average. And that boy helps me to be a better person and to have patience. And we all have our love languages. And so that's mom and son time. And we go up. So the people that have experienced the energy work during gliding season in the fall, that was super fun, getting up there and working the stick and watching everything and putting the card out there and bringing everyone. So everybody experiences that type of energy. Whatever it is we're doing it together.
Wow, you're really brave to do the gliding.
It scared the shit out of me. So this is where I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know about all of this. I don't know about doing this. My voice was shaky. My hands were shaky, sweaty palms, the whole 9 yards. I said to myself, do I not want to do this because I'm scared? Or do I not want to do this because I don't like it? And I liked it.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you are bringing up that fear and that just paper thin line between terror and fear and working past it to determine. Because oftentimes I think that we get caught up in the things that we don't want to do, and we're scared to do them, and then don't push through them, and then they end up being the best things that could have happened.
That's it. And going back to my journey, and I was just talking about this last night with the family. And for those of you out there listening, it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to cry. No one is going to feel exactly perfect all of the time. And I cried last night thinking about my mom and her journey, but not in the way that I did in the beginning. I was scared when we were going through that 1.5 years of chemo and the whole thing that I knew she didn't want to do. And in the very end, when we couldn't leave, and I do have this in my book, so could read the story later, but in the very end, when I had to go home and she was basically the doctor said, it's time for you to pass. Here is hospice. And my stepdad that was it. It was done. She looked at me with this look on her face and she asked me if she can come with me. If she could come with me back home. And I had to say no. And then I said, but I'll see you soon. And I knew that was the truth. And she visited me in the weirdest way. And she's here with us now. And I felt regret and guilt and sad and scared that I didn't do the right thing, that I should have just taken her. My stepdad was going to have me arrested if I took her to an alternative place. We set it up. We had to pay cash. And she had agreed and she wanted to do it in the very end. And he said, if you take her, I'm calling the cops. And in the very beginning, she had told me, I don't want to do anything else. And so she set it up that way with the power of attorney and everything else. So I let it go. And I am a super warrior, anybody who knows me, but I'm not here to fight that way. And I'll have very uncomfortable discussions and whatever I need to have, but they're not going to be in your face and they're not going to be insulting you. They're going to be real, they're going to be raw, and we're going to have results. But that's where it comes back to the fear, where I look back and when I was writing my book, I realized so much. It was her journey. And I now know that it wasn't for me to do that. And so for anybody who's listening, you don't have to be scared. It's okay because you are here doing what you're supposed to do, and feel it and ask yourself, do I want to do this because I'm scared or I don't like it? But that's for yourself, and everybody else has their own journey, and you learn how to work on yourself and do everything yourself because that's where you work with other people better.
And I like that you bring up the point that you realize that was part of her journey. I think it's hard or challenging sometimes to differentiate your journey from somebody else's, especially with parents.
Oh, it's the truth, because I wanted it so bad. And I wanted to have that story to say, we did it. Here it is. And we did it. And you can do it too. And instead, here I am having a different story, still saying you can do it too. There's many stories out there, but it wasn't her journey. And it's not right. As an energy worker, it is not right to put your energy on somebody else or have them live the life the way you want them to live.
The expectation.
The expectation, it's their journey. And as I got out of my emotion and I realized I needed to go through all of that, it's what she wanted the whole time. It was what she wanted. And she even said it in the beginning. And it was just the way it had to be. And she's here. And she did visit me afterwards a number of times. And that was pretty interesting as well. But
yeah. So before we started, you were talking about pets, and you have a 15-year-old golden retriever. Talk to us about energy work on pets.
Oh, gosh. Vibration is everything. Energy is vibration, sound, light, solid, things that we think are solid. You'll learn in third grade, or you did learn in third grade, that even matter is energy when you break it down with the atoms. Well, Bubba, his name is Nova.
Okay.
Bossa Nova baby. He was born on Elvis's birthday, January 8th. And I personally love Elvis. I grew up listening to Elvis. My mom loved Elvis. He was a little bit past her time, but she still loved him. She was pretty young. And so we named him Bossa Nova baby. And he's incredible. He's 15. And he started to calm down. I don't know if any of you guys have any type of retriever or lab or just a dog in general that has a lot of energy. But this guy, it took him till he was 10 to really calm down. When he was 10, I had to talk with him and I said, hey, bud, it's time to walk together. No more walking me. It's embarrassing, actually. But anyway, he still walked me for a couple of years. But he had these lipomas. And at that time, I started out doing health coaching in 2017. And my girlfriend who just clobbered me about coaching her, I was doing relationship coaching. It wasn't an official thing, but it's like, I need help with my relationships. Everything is vibration, communication, all of it. I don't have to talk to communicate to you. Even body language, but still you can feel vibration and emotions. So I was doing health coaching at that time, and I switched Bubba's diet to, I have nicknames for everybody in my family. And I changed, he had these lipomas, which if you don't know what a lipoma is, it's just a deposit of fat. And dogs are susceptible to lipomas. People can get them as well. But he had these lipomas and they were quite large. And what I did was I changed his diet to a ketogenic diet, and it was all raw. And they shrunk by 50%. And it gave me got my ego going a little bit. And I went, okay, this is working. But after a while, his gut couldn't take the raw. And so I switched to cooked food. The lipomas, though, stayed the same size. So even now, I put his harness on, and I put it on loose because the lipomas are still there. They don't bother him, but they're still the same size. And so you evolve as you move along. And I think so differently about nutrition now. I still generally eat very healthy. And like I said, my mom was all about health. Drink carrot juice when I was a kid. She'd make carrot juice for us every morning. My sister would pour it down. Let's think. I go follow her because she was like, I always wanted to do the right thing. Not that I always did, but that's my journey. But with vibration and energy, there's so much you can do. The food does matter, but not as much as how you feel. And so I switched him. He was doing well. He now has cooked food. And I add things I used to freak out. Oh my gosh, you can't have chocolate, or you can't have grapes, or all of these things that I had learned. But now I have whatever you want. I give him a bunch of love. He is one of the 5 fixed people in my group. 5 fixed 4. I get family in my group, but I don't let him go. So he's in the group. Sometimes we give extra energy, but I always give him extra energy anyway. And I was telling you that even animals are, I guess you could say susceptible, but really, what's the right word I'm looking for? Animals can be affected by hypnosis, hypnotherapy. I'm a certified I do conversational hypnosis. So you can tell someone something and they feel it, but you can tell an animal too and they can feel it. So I talk about his strong legs because the vet was talking about his legs just recently. Actually, he went in and he was underweight, and the vet was very scared because he had a murmur, he's underweight, and he had a mass in his rectum. And so I'm going to have to look at that, but I am working on the rectal mass, but his legs are stronger by 50%. This is a couple of months ago now. His weight is by like at least 5 pounds, but I can feel him. It's got to be like 7 pounds. I'll go weigh him. And I was just focused on working on that, but talking to him as well. Look at your strong legs. We moved recently. We have stairs. And someone asked me, how's he doing? And I said, great. There's no choice.
Yeah.
And then I just give him love, and I'm not scared for him. We make it fun. He has treats going down, treats going up, and we work on him all the time. And so I'll give you an update of how he's doing in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to go in. The thing is, too, is the vet was very scared when my husband had brought him in. And so my husband came home and said, oh, my God, she's scared. And so she wrote this long report. I read it, talked to her on the phone. She wanted to do all these different things. And he said, we're not putting him under anything, any type of chemo, any type of radiation. We're not going to put him under surgery. We're not going to do anything. Just give me some time, because I'm all about working with people. But I'm also about being an advocate as well. And so we just moved forward to see how it would work out, because my husband and I had our own conversation. And I said, well, I want to work with her. So let's do that first. And then we see. not going to make any judgments or say anything yet. 5 weeks later, she was impressed. She said, whoa, I can't. And I told her too, because I used to be embarrassed. I told you guys before, I used to be nervous about talking in front of people. I still get nervous talking in front of more than 5 people. You do it anyway.
Yeah.
Stomach gets a little twisted, but then I think, you know what? I'm here for you and I love you and I've got to do this. So that helps.
Yeah. My mom recently found out that her dog has thyroid cancer. And I called her last night. So she found out the news last week. And so she called the vet's office and asked them for the actual lab work where the diagnosis became possible. And she can't find that anywhere. And so the dog has a big mass on the side of its neck. And they've done some things like fine needle aspirates and stuff. And they still can't really get to the bottom of it. And so last night I asked, I said, can he come over and let me do some energy work on him? And so we're going to start doing that. But energy work it's real.
You can't see me right now, but I'm nodding my head yes for those of you listening. And it is so real.
I have a client. She's a doctor's assistant. And she came to me. We were talking about working together for probably about 4 months. And then finally she made the call and she's, hey, it's time. I need to get in with you. And I said, oh, absolutely. So we got her in and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, I feel like shit all the time. I think I'm vaccine injured. The doctors can't figure out what's going on with me. They think that I have a brain tumor. They think that I have adrenal tumors. I have ovarian cysts. There's all these things that are going on. And so I'm like, okay. So I got her in and the next day she was supposed to do the adrenal P test. And I just, as an energy worker, I just am the conduit for the energy to come through. And she does her own, and I hold space for people to do their own healing. So she called me yesterday to let me know that the adrenal P test came back normal. So when she did the blood adrenal test, it was like 3 points down from the highest end of and then they were really concerned about her. And then the urine test came back absolutely normal. So the doctor said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
So awesome. It works. And even, do you know who Uri Geller is? So Uri Geller worked with the government, Russell Targ. He worked with Russell Targ, and I'm not thinking of the other people that they worked with at the moment, but anyone, you can look him up on. Uri Geller is, I believe he was from Turkey, but he can bend spoons. But he's also done things, and they did experiments and research for 20 years. 20 years. If this wasn't real, then why would the government spend money for 20 years on a program for remote view? How could he bend spoons just with his mind over the television way back? I don't want to say the year. It was at least 80s,
Wow.
80s. And also what he did too was erase tapes. Remember old tape?
Yeah, the VHS tapes. Yeah.
VHS, or the type of cassette type of tape, and even written word on paper, and the document and the tape was guarded, government testing, right?
Yeah.
Guarded, underground, all that. You can go online and learn this. Russell Targ has and I put this story of him as well in my book because people need to know. And he has a app online that will help with psychic. We're all psychic. We can all do this work. And I love that you talked about that you're the conduit. That's what we all are. Everybody else. So the people you work on, the people I work on, and we're really working with them, and they're doing it.
They're doing the work.
They're doing the work.
They are.
Yeah. My point to that is that you can do anything, change paperwork, or if you have an x-ray or you're waiting for results, you can do while you're healing yourself, while you're working on yourself, you can show that in the paper, because time was yesterday, today, and in the future. It is not linear.
It is not linear.
It has happened. It's happening. It's going to happen.
And all at the same time.
All at the same time. Yesterday.
Yeah.
And tomorrow.
Yeah. What else is in the book?
I talk about my own healing journey and doing drugs to at the end, as I was older, really it was just smoking pot. And I say just smoking pot because people do use cannabis for their own healing. But I find, like I said at the beginning, being sober is the real trip.
Yeah, say more about that.
Try flying a glider while you're sober. The first time I ever smoked pot, I was 5 years old.
Wow.
My sister was probably about 12, and she gave me permission to share this part of her story. And she was smoking pot with my mom, who was 10 years older than her. Should have known better, but human.
Yeah.
Her journey.
She did the best she could.
She did the best she could. She just did. And so I always was looking in. When you feel things, when you're empathetic, which we all are, but some are born with a little more, you can train yourself to have as much of the power as you want. But I always felt like I was different. I just knew things. I'd remember my dreams. I remember them every night. Things happen. You just know people too. You just know someone's going to say something. Or in my family, I had to be careful of certain people I was around because of abuse, sexual abuse in my larger family. And so I talk about that journey and moving through it and trying to escape my home life, what was happening, my own feelings of I didn't feel like I was worth anything. I had no confidence. And I felt as if I was a failure. And I was just a teen. So I was always looking for the next trip. I didn't smoke pot all through. I was 5 years old. I smoked pot and it scared me at one point after doing it. So I didn't do it until, again, I was about 12. And then I really started to get into drugs and anything, psychedelics. I feel like, is it psilocybin? I feel that opened me up. And I'm not advocating for people, hey, go do drugs. But at one point, I'd say definitely when my mom first was diagnosed, I thought about going down to, is it Costa Rica, or to do the ayahuasca, because I thought maybe this is something that will really help me get to the next level. But looking back, Marcie, I feel like getting to the next level for me was doing it sober. And so I struggled with meth as a teen. My brother did too, and he got so out of his head. He did commit suicide in 2016 with prescription drugs. But at one point, he tried to sexually abuse me as well. And my father had 3 years before that. And so there was a lot of mental work and confidence that I had to work through, even being comfortable as a woman. You guys can't see me right now, but I used to hide. I have bigger breasts, and they were bigger when I was younger. And I do things backwards and everything. Like, I don't go to the gym now, and I'm in the best shape of my life.
Yes.
I worked on my arms, and my daughter was poking at me. Those of you who have children, you know what that's like, where she's, Mom, look at your arms. So the past 8 months, I've worked on them, and they're like 80% firmer.
Wow.
With my mind, but also through massage.
Okay.
But I wasn't comfortable wearing things that showed cleavage. I would hide my body. I felt very insecure or protective. That's me anyway. I have fun, and if you know me, I'm extremely sexual person, but I'm not promiscuous. But I want people to be able to feel however they want to. If they want to be promiscuous, why do I care? I don't care. But I had to really discover me, and doing it sober and not trying to escape or go to the next trip. And when my mom first got diagnosed, I thought, okay, cannabis is going to be like, this is going to be it, and I'm going to try all this stuff. But I just became high, and I didn't really see the big picture.
And you were numbing.
I was numbing.
Yeah, regardless of whether or not, yeah.
I was totally numbing. I just didn't see it like that at first, but it was. I am a big advocate for being sober. And one of the clients that I worked with, he ended up being a meth addict, and I had no idea. And we were in it. So I wasn't giving up. I said, okay, we're doing this shit. Ready? Sobriety happened. Lots of extra work happened. Meetings with family happened. I went to AA meetings around here. I didn't even know that they existed, but there's programs out there. There's super cool programs out there that are open to energy work.
Yeah.
You can stay there or you can do a day thing. But now I realize that it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what has happened. And I do tell people my story because a lot of people, especially if they've gone through pretty deep things, they're not going to want to open up.
Well, they think that they're alone or that they're not going to be accepted. When I went through hypnotherapy school, I was mortified that my rape would come up because it was something that got buried in my family. Like my sister didn't know, my dad didn't know. And I just saw my hypnotherapy mentor yesterday. And it was so lovely to see her. She's 78 now, but I just was reflecting on the time that we spent together and just remember when we would do sessions and exchange, when you're learning new processes and stuff like that. I would just be in the sweats and be like, please don't come up, please don't come up, please don't come up. And it's sad to me now to think about that because my healing would have started so much earlier. But for those people that are listening that have some sort of traumatic event that has happened to you, you're not at fault.
Not at all. You're not at all.
Yeah. And there are people that have these experiences that are here to help and want to help and support you through it. And if you don't have a support group, there are people there for you.
100%. 100%. And I used to be the black sheep of my family because my grandfather, and I feel that this happened to my dad and my brother. My grandfather raped my cousins and probably my aunts, but nobody said anything. And I was the only one who spoke up. And I had backlash and people that were very upset with me. And I also had the people who came to me and thanked me. That right there fueled my fire. Because like I said, I'm not here to fight and combat, and war is not my way, but I will battle for you. And I'll get dirty and I will dig and do it right there with you. And once I heard the thank yous, it just made me know and I'm here to speak up, and I'm going to no matter what. And I don't care. I do not give a shit what people think about me, because the right thing to do is to speak up and to warn other people that don't know, because they're just going to send their children. He's passed away, my grandfather now, but he lived till he was 90. And I felt obligated to say something. I'm born for this. I was born for this. So my birthday is 7/7/77.
Wow.
I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was born with a gray patch on my head. And those of you can't see me now. I was born with pitch black hair. I'm Mexican, born in Phoenix, Arizona. But my family, being Mexican of descent, they thought it was something very spiritual and there was a blessing and I was here for a different reason. So whether I heard them say that and I felt it energetically or not, I am here for that. I'm here to speak up for this person who can't speak up for themselves at this point. And I have all gray hair now because when I went through the detox when my mom was sick, I did all the things that I learned about on the truth about cancer, Ty Bollinger and Charlene Bollinger. And so I detoxed and now my hair is all gray.
And it's gorgeous.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you. But I naturally had that gray hair, and there's no way that I'm going to stay quiet and I really don't care anymore. But I'm going to do it in a way that we can work together and to help people. And so now I don't have anybody in the family who thinks that I'm a black sheep. And maybe they do, but they're not saying anything. And I'm very close with my family. Again, there was at one point where I felt shunned.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty lonely sometimes. I think it's interesting how family trauma gets buried under the rug and it never gets brought to light. And maybe that's because they don't want shame to come onto the family or any of the things. And the other day I was watching a TV show and it was If These Walls Could Talk, and it was Demi Moore. Oh, the look on your face. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Demi Moore, C. Spacek, and Cher, and they all lived in the same house. So Demi Moore was the first lady that lived in the house, and it was 1952. And the premise of the story is that all of the women got pregnant unexpectedly, and then having to deal with the conversations around an unexpected pregnancy and their own trials and tribulations with whether or not do I get an abortion or not. Demi Moore's experience in the movie was she got pregnant, but her husband was in the military and passed in his service. And she got pregnant outside of the marriage, and this in-law found out. And she said, how could you bring this shame upon the family? And that struck such a deep chord with me. I hear that in your story with your cousins and possibly your aunts. And so good for you for being brave and being a warrior for yourself and those that can't speak for themselves.
Thank you. And I appreciate you too, because we have to, and if you're here to do that, speak up. And I'm glad that I have someone else to rely on to help me, because you can't do it alone.
No.
And people want to sweep things under the carpet because then they might have to face themselves if they don't. And that's pretty deep.
Yeah.
And it can be pretty hard. And you say good for me, but tell my children that. I just hear the conversations that we've had. And since they were very little, and my husband, it made him uncomfortable. Are you sure that's okay to talk to them about? Because we say vagina and penis, and we always have. And I'm okay being naked. Now my son's a teen, so he's still a mom. But I'm like, it's just a body, baby. When we talk about sex, I'm like, it's one of the best things ever. But condoms, and you're too young. But I did talk to them, and I don't care who it is who you feel uncomfortable around, or if they touch you on your penis, your vagina, or wherever, that makes you uncomfortable. You tell me. It's okay. Or even escaping a fire. I worked for a fire department. I did the admin. I became an ambulance driver, and I got my EMT search, and just in case the fit hit the shan. And I did the IT. I helped out with IT.
Yeah. And
I did the payroll, and I ran board meetings and things like that. But so I talked to them too about if there's a fire, what's the emergency? Like, what are we? So we have open conversations. But they used to say, I don't like this. I'm so uncomfortable. Why do we have to talk about this? Because this chain is broken. That chain is broken here.
Yeah.
It's broken. And I don't care. You can bend spoons. You can break metal. And with going back to vibration, do anything.
You stop the generational trauma.
Stop it. And in my family, it was generational.
Yeah. Wow. So we originally met at a network mixer, and you're going to be taking those over. So it's the third Mondays of the month, and it's at, what is the name of the flower shop? Let you talk all about it.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. It is at the Garden of Reno, and it's off of South Wells. And Alex Ann Stone, who we met through because Alex Ann's group is having Alana Heim and I take over. Alana is one of my best friends. She works human design, does energy work. She's a CPA, CFP gone rogue. She's incredible. And her and I are taking this over for Alex Ann right now while Alex Ann is in Ecuador. So it's called the Women's Coffee Network Connect. And we meet every third Monday of the month from 10 a.m. to noon. And so our next meeting is coming up. I don't think this is going to be aired, but continue.
Yes. I've been to plenty. I was the director of Power, at the Power of We. And I like this networking event because Alexanne had activities and it was more structured, which was great. And it gave everybody their own airtime to talk about what they were doing and practice their pitch, which I think is a very important thing. I know that you were also doing a small business class coming up, which is going to be on March 3rd, which we'll miss that then, but you're going to have more of those that are posted on your website. Do you want to talk about that business class?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely. So I'm all about relationship business. I don't think I do business with anyone who's not a friend. But going back to vibration, especially now, people get scared, or even having a small business, or if you have fears or any type of, what's the right word that I'm trying to think of, with money, trouble with
blocks or beliefs.
Yes. So you've got to be able to dial it all in when it comes to business so you're sustainable. And so Alana Heim and I are giving a class on energy work, small businesses.
Yeah.
So we're going to go over energy techniques, but also what you need to do in business as well. You still need to make the phone calls, still need to continue, ask for the money, you're worth it. So we're going to go into self-worth. But I really love the energy part of it because the general population isn't doing it yet. People are starting to do it now.
Yeah.
But really to be able to do that and then gather with other business owners who are doing the same thing because we're stronger in numbers.
For sure. Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do.
So how can listeners find you, Teresa?
You can find me on my website, teresawalkerley.com. So Walkerley gets misspelled a lot, and it's as if you are taking a walk on the beach. But it's Walker, so like Marcie Walker, except L-E-Y at the end. So Walkerley. And remember to get that E in the middle of the L and the Y. So you can find me on teresawalkerley.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I just started Alignable. So I'm not sure how that's going to go, but I always give everything a shot. And that's the one thing with business and even anything really, you stay consistent, and that's where you can find me.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and sharing your energy with me today. I really love and appreciate you, and you're doing some great things in the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love knowing you and connecting with you and looking forward to working with you in the future as well.